Hello there and welcome to the Unity Editor Interface Lab. In this lab, we're going to look at three main activities. First, we're going to look at how we create a new project in Unity. And then we look at the main views in the Unity interface, the project, hierarchy, inspector, scene, and game view. And finally, we look at how we can navigate the Unity scene view, the various ways of navigating the Unity scene view. Let's start off by looking at creating a new project. So when you start up a new project in Unity, if you are creating a new project for the first time or you're setting up Unity for the first time, the dialog box will give you an option of selecting the packages that you want to import into your project. So the first thing to keep in mind is you want to only add the minimum required packages to the project that you actually need to use, because if there are any unused packages, they will just take up space and they'll cause a lag in running and loading the project. So you only import what is exactly that you need. Okay. So let's start up Unity. I'm actually going to have a special folder called Unity Code on my machine. Of course, you can designate a different folder on your machine to hold all the project folders for my various Unity projects. So start, I'm going to go to Unity. Okay, as you can see, there's a project dialog box. I'm going to create a new project, and you can see there's a whole bunch of packages that I can import, and as I've just mentioned, you only import those that you need. So in this case, for a simple demo, we're not going to import any particular package. We are going to browse, okay, and we are going to go to here. We're going to create a new folder called test1. Which is going to hold my first test project that we are going to work with in this lab. Okay, so make sure test1 is highlighted, select folder, and then call create. Unity will start up, and bingo. Okay, you are in Unity now. So you will see the name of your project, test1, at the top there, and it says untitled. This is actually the name of your scene. We'll look at the scenes later on, but we haven't actually saved this scene yet. So you can choose to save this scene. For example, let's call it scene 1. So you click File, Save Scene As, and then you'll be directed to the Assets folder here. And then you type the word scene 1. Okay, scene 1. Oops, sorry, scene 1. And you click Save. Okay, so now it says scene1.unity in the test1 project. Okay, now this is the main Unity interface. And let's look and see what are the main views in this Unity interface. There are 5 main views: the project, hierarchy, inspector, scene, and game view. They are all identified by the names on the tabs of these respective views. And all these views are customizable, which means they can be moved, docked, duplicated, or changed. And you have an option of switching to the built-in default view. Just in case you move all the views all around the place and you don't like how it looks like, you can switch back to the default view. Or you may have a particular layout of the views that you are comfortable with working with, so you can save the custom layout of the views. Let's see how this is done. So 5 views. The scene view, as you can see, all the views are titled by the name on the tab for the view: scene view, hierarchy view, project view, inspector view, and finally the game view. So 5 views. Now the views can be moved, docked, duplicated, or changed. And they can also be resized. So let's look at resizing. I can just put my cursor at the boundary between the views. I can resize them in this way. I can resize them up and down, for example. Left and right. Okay. I can move my views around and dock them in different parts of the screen. So I can take, for example, the hierarchy view. I can move it down here. I dock it at the bottom of the screen if I don't like it. Okay, there. So now the hierarchy view is at the bottom of the screen. I may want my game view to be on this part here. So now I move the game view and it's over on this side here. I can drag it. Okay, so I can arrange them in any order I like. So let's say I like this particular order of or layout of views. I can save them. So if I go on to layout, the rightmost button here, layout, I click, it's a drop down. I can say save layout. Okay, I can say my second layout. I click save. Okay, so it gets saved. So the list of layouts can be accessed through the right uppermost button that you see, drop down box that you see here at the corner of the screen. You can also access it from window layouts, which will give you the same list of options as well. Now, in order to other than this custom layout which I've done, there are several other layouts that are possible. So 2x3, you can click on this. This is a very common layout that a lot of textbooks use. So we're going to stick to this particular layout through most of the labs. Other layouts, you can see 4 split. Now, you can see in this layout there are actually 2 scene views, and there are actually a total of 4 scene views. And the reason why we want to have 4 scene views is, as you can see, all these scene views are aligned on different axes. This one is aligned in the YXZ plane, this is aligned in the YX plane, this is aligned on the XZ plane, and this is aligned in 3-dimensional space. So this allows you to get 3 different views of the one scene at the same time. We'll look at the scene view later on. Okay, but here's an example of where you might want to have a duplication of a particular view. Then we have the default view, which looks like this. We have the tall view, which looks like this. We have the wide view, which looks like this, and so on. So let's switch back to the 2x3 view. This is the most common view. Okay. If you want to duplicate a view, as we saw just now, if you want to duplicate a scene view, this is the most common thing that we do. You can, for example, click here, and then you click Add tab, and you put in another scene. So now you have 2 scenes. Now the second scene view, you can maybe drag it and put it somewhere else. Maybe put it here. So now you can have 2 scene views, okay, side by side. Okay, and you can remove views as well. Just click on the tab and then say Close tab. Okay, and in fact, you can just close all the tabs if you wanted to, for some reason. And then of course you can add them back again by just clicking on any one of the tabs of any one of the views and add tab. So we are missing our inspector view. We put that in, drag it back to the old place that it was supposed to be at. And we are also missing a project view. So we put the project view. Okay, so now the project view is back. And we drag the project view back to where it was. Okay, so now we're back to the standard 2x3 view layout. Okay, but just reset that just in case. So you can add tabs. You can add views and you can remove views by adding tabs and closing tabs. By using the add tabs or close tab options in the tabs of any one of the views. Okay, now let's go back to the project view. The project view contains everything that's been created for a project. So the main thing that you're going to have in a project is what is called assets. Assets include files, scripts, textures, models, materials, and so on. Okay, these are going to be used to create the objects in your game and color them and put a nice appearance to them and so on. So all these things are called assets, and whatever you put into the project view is mirrored in the assets folder on the hard disk where your project is being saved. And now, asset is any item that exists as a file in your assets folder. That's the definition of it. So game objects, which you are going to see later on, which you create in the hierarchy view, they don't count as an asset. So assets are only found in the project view, and they must exist as a file in your assets folder. And you can move items in the project view to inside other folders in order to organize your project. Okay, it's just like organizing files on your file explorer. If you have a lot of files, all of them in one single folder, you might want to create subfolders so that you can store all these files and organize them properly. So let's see how all of this works out. Let's go back to Unity. Okay, first of all, let's create a couple of assets. First of all, you notice that there's already an asset called Scene1. Remember earlier on we saved this project as we saved the scene here as Scene1. So we already have a Scene1 that's considered an asset. Okay, now we start adding in other assets. The way we can do that is to right click and then we get a menu, list of menu options, and then we click create. So we can have a whole bunch of assets that we can create here. And we can also do that by going to the main menu, clicking on option, clicking on assets and then clicking create, and you get the same list of options as well. So it's either assets, create, getting the list of options here, or you right click in the assets pane in the project view, and then you click create here and you get it as well. So let's create a couple of scripts. So let's create a C# script. My first script, and then let's click a second script. Now notice that there are three main types of scripts that you can create in Unity. The scripts are going to be used to control the animation of the objects and materials that you create for your game. So we're going to come to scripting at a much later point in this subject. But just to note here, there are three main types of scripting languages that you can use: JavaScript, C#, and Booscript. Boo is a unique language specific to the Unity platform. Okay, so I'm going to create basically a couple of C# scripts. I'm going to create a second one. I'm going to call it second script, create another script, and I'm going to call it the third script. Okay, third script. Okay, now let's create some other things other than scripts. Let's create a prefab. I'm going to say box prefab. Let's create some other stuff. Create, let's see here. Let's create, okay, sorry. Let's create a cube map. Maybe a cube map. Okay, so let's say cube 1, for example. Let's see what else we can create. Let's create some material. Say let's call this ball material. So create a whole bunch of assets. Now, for every single one of these assets we create, there will be a corresponding file to them in the assets folder, in the particular folder that we designated as our project folder on our hard disk. So if you look and see test 1, you can see test 1 was the main project folder, and inside there you have 4 subfolders. If you look at the assets folder, you can see there's a file here corresponding to every single thing that I've created. So there are 3 scripts. Okay, you can see there's a second script, third script, my first script, second script, third script. Okay, you have a cube 1, you have a scene 1 as well, scene1.unity, you have a box prefab, and so on. So everything that you have here is an asset corresponds to a file here. Okay, so if you delete any prefab, it's going to disappear from the folder. So let's see, if I don't like this prefab, I delete it, and I don't like my first script and I delete it. Okay. And you look at your folder, you're going to see that all these files corresponding to those assets have also been deleted. So whatever changes you make here will be mirrored to this assets folder. Okay, everything here is represented by a file in the assets folder. Now you can also organize your assets. In a large project, you may end up having hundreds and thousands of assets. So it's going to be really difficult to look through all of these assets and find them. So what you can do is you can organize them into folders, and the categorization is pretty much on these 4 themes: materials, models, prefabs, and scripts. So most of your assets, not all, but most of your assets are going to fall into these 4 categories. Either they are going to be materials, they're going to be models, they're going to be prefabs, they're going to be scripts. So let's create a scripts folder. Let's create a prefab folder. Okay, and you can drag the 2 scripts into the scripts folder just like we do in Windows Explorer. You can drag the, did we have any prefabs? Let me create a prefab. I think I created a prefab. Was it cube 1? Oh, I deleted one of the prefabs. So let's create a material folder. Material, and we can drag the material inside this folder, and so on. So again, whatever changes you make, whatever folders you create in the assets pane of the project view is also mirrored again to the folder, the assets folder that you have on hard disk for the project folder, the main project folder test 1. As you can see here, you have a material, prefab, and script subfolder, and inside these subfolders you have the respective assets that I dragged into those subfolders earlier on just now in the project interface view. Okay. Now, let's go back to So the basic idea when you're working with assets is every asset type, screens, scripts, textures, models, materials, and so on, they all should get their own folder to organize. So all the scenes you put into one folder, all the scripts you put into one folder, all the prefabs you put into one folder, all the textures you put into one folder. Okay, and you can also nest folders as well. So within the prefab folder, you can have the prefab for Mickey Mouse, the prefab for Donald Duck, the prefab for Superman, whatever. Okay, so you can have multiple folders nested within folders as well within the asset pane. Okay, so you can nest them just like you would nest folders in a normal Windows hierarchy. And of course, again, if you nest them, you have to make sure you organize them properly. So the basic rule here is just make sure you organize your work properly, because when you're going to work with a lot of assets, everything is going to get very messy. Now, assets can be imported from the Unity server's online asset store, and you can either get free or paid versions. So let's go back to Unity again. Sorry. So I can look for assets. I can search for, if let's say I've got a lot of assets, I can search for asset directly by typing in the name here. So for example, if I'm looking for a script, I can say my second script, say second. I type second and then the script comes up. If I say cube 1, it comes up. Okay. So I can type anything here. I can search for a particular asset in this particular search box here. Now, in addition to looking for my assets that I've created myself inside Unity, I can also look for assets that have already been uploaded to the Unity server. So the Unity company, they maintain a server that has a list of thousands of assets, which allow you to create a game very easily by using some of these assets. Now, without these assets, you may actually have to spend some time using a graphics package like Blender or Maya 2 or PaintShop Pro to create your own graphic images or your own game objects that you want to use in your games. So that is actually very, very time consuming. So what Unity has done to help is actually to create an entire library of assets that you can just directly import from the online server and use in your games. Directly take it and then straight away import and start using it to create games of your own. Okay, so to access this, you have to make sure that you have a Unity account. If you have managed to install Unity, you should already have a Unity account, and you will use this Unity account to log into the asset store. So let's look for assets. So let's say we are looking for assets. We can look for, let's say, prefabs. Okay, we can look in the asset store. Okay, so these are some of the assets that you have. You can, of course, browse through them to see there are a whole bunch of assets that you can actually have that you can import from the asset store. So these are all free assets, and these are paid assets. You have to pay money in order to get them. So from time to time, people actually take time, graphic artists take time to create different types of objects that people are going to use in games. They upload them to the Unity server, and then you obviously pay money to them to actually download their particular game objects or assets. So it's just pretty much like buying an app from the Apple App Store and so on. You're just buying something that someone else has created. So let's work with the free assets first. Let's import this Present01. So if I choose Present01, I can either choose to import a package or open asset store. The simpler option is to open the asset store. So I'm going to click open asset store here. And you need to have a good internet connection for this. Okay, so you can open the asset store. Okay, and then you're going to click on the import button, and it's going to decompress package, and you're going to see a whole bunch of items they can import. So they have been organized in folders: FBX, materials, prefabs, and textures. So you're going to click import, click on the import button. You have a status, it's importing stuff. So remember, all of this needs to happen while you have a good broadband connection, which is obviously not going to be the case if you're working in the university labs. And you also have to make sure that your firewalls or your proxy servers or whatever you're running is turned off or configured properly. Okay, so now that you've imported it, you can close the window now. And if you go back now to my assets, you're going to see that I've actually imported some new Christmas assets free. This is free, and a whole bunch of stuff I've imported. You can see all this stuff. So all this stuff are stuff that I can now start using rather than actually spending my time to create all these assets, all these materials, or all these prefabs, rather than spending time creating them myself using a program like Blender, Maya 2, Photoshop, Adobe Studio, whatever, I'm actually just taking stuff that's already free available on the Unity server. So that's really good. And the nice thing is I can do this directly from the Unity interface. Okay? So this is something that you want to consider to try and browse through the existing online asset store and see what kinds of prefabs, materials, textures, models that you can import to use in constructing your own games. Okay. So let's go back to the hierarchy view. Okay, let's look at the hierarchy view. Now, the hierarchy view shows all the items in the current scene instead of the entire project. So, any items that you create in the hierarchy view will be shown in the scene view. You'll be able to see these objects. And a scene is roughly equivalent to the concept of a level in a game. So, if you have played any kind of game before, you should be familiar with the concept of levels. You normally start off with the simplest level. When you complete the first level, usually by killing a certain amount of enemies or collecting a certain amount of points, you move on to the next level. Then you repeat the same thing. Usually the next level is more difficult and you keep going from one level to the next level to the next level and so on. So the scene is basically the concept of a level in a game. And each scene will have a collection of objects and behaviors related to these objects. Okay, and all these objects will be in the hierarchy view. So the items and objects in the hierarchy view can be nested by clicking and dragging them to form a parent-child relationship. Okay, and the default scene is empty except for a main camera. So let's go back to Unity and let's look at the hierarchy. Now you can see in the hierarchy, basically there is one thing that is called main camera. If you click on that, you will see that there's one thing that's been highlighted there, and that's this thing called the main camera. We'll try and zoom into it. I'm using my, I'm scrolling up and down using the mouse wheel, okay, on my mouse. So that's how I'm moving in, okay, if you are wondering. So now you see there's something here called the main camera. Whatever is in the field of vision of the main camera will be displayed on the game view. We're going to look at the game view later on. Right now, the scene view is where we actually start arranging various objects in front of the main camera so that they appear in the game view. The game view is actually where we actually see the game itself running. So we are going to start putting various objects into the scene in various locations that are in the area of vision of the main camera, which is the default object in the hierarchy view, okay, so that they will be seen. So let's start putting in some game objects. So the way we do this is we can click on this drop down list here and we have a whole bunch of game objects that we can add in, okay. So we can add in, let's say, a cube. A cube is added in. Now you see the cube appears here in front of the camera, and we can actually see the cube is also appearing in the game view because it's in the view of the main camera. We click back on the main camera, we can see the field of vision of the main camera covers this cube. Okay, let's put in a few other things. Let's put in a cube. Let's put in a sphere. Okay, the sphere is actually pretty close to the cube. So we might need to move the sphere out of the way a bit so it can be seen actually by the camera. Okay. Just in case you're wondering, I'm dragging the sphere with my mouse button. My mouse pointer. We'll go into more detail about how to navigate in the scene view later on. I can also add game objects by clicking on a game object option and create other, and I get a whole list of options that's identical to if I click on this drop down this button here as well. So let's put in a capsule and let's put in a cylinder. Okay, they're all pretty much near to each other, so I'm going to move them out a bit so they're not so I can see them basically. Okay, so now I'll move them out a bit. Okay, so now I've got a capsule, cube, cylinder, the main camera is here, and the sphere. Now every time I click on any one of these objects in the hierarchy view, the particular object in the scene view, the corresponding object in the scene view will be highlighted as well with 3 axes. Okay, we're going to see later on these 3 axes and what they mean and the planes that they're on. Okay, so I click on the main camera, that's what I see. I click on the cylinder, that's what I see. I click on the cube, that's what I see. I click on the capsule, that's what I see. Now, we can also move assets from the project view into the hierarchy view. So let's try and do that. Let's go to the prefabs folder. Let's move present O1. Okay, move present O1 into the hierarchy view. And tada! You have a present now in the scene view. And we have a, let's move, let's say the center head. Can move that. Tada! Now you have a center head. They're both next to each other. You can see they're both blocking each other. From the camera's point of view, you can see the camera's point of view. It's actually in the field of vision of the main camera, but since they are both kind of next to each other, they're blocking each other. Let's move them out a bit. So I'm going to click on here, move the head out a bit to somewhere else. Okay, so now we've got various objects here in the scene view, and I can nest these objects so that they form a parent-child hierarchy. And the idea is that whatever kind of actions I apply to the parent will automatically apply to the child as well. So let's take a very simple example. Now we have the let's look at the present. Now the present also already has some existing things within it. Okay, present ribbon O1, present box. Let's look at the center head. Center head doesn't have anything in it yet. Let's do something now. Let's move this sphere. Okay, let's move this sphere so it comes a bit closer to the center head. Okay, somewhere around here. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull this sphere. Sorry, yeah, not this sphere. Sorry, what did I just move? The cylinder. No, that's the capsule. Now, I'm going to pull this capsule and put that into the center head. Okay, so now there's a parent-child relationship between the cylinder and not the cylinder, the capsule and the center head. So the capsule is inside the center head. So when I click on the center head, both the center head and the capsule are highlighted. And when I move the center head, both the center head and the capsule move at the same time because they're both related together. They're nested together. So this is a parent-child relationship. The parent is the center head prefab, and the child is the capsule game object. Okay, I can pull the capsule out again so that it becomes independent again. So the basic idea is you can click and drag various items onto each other and nest them. Okay, so that the idea is we can apply a specific action to one of these of the parent object, and you automatically apply to the child object as well. Now let's look at the next view, which is the inspector view. So the inspector view enables you to see all of the properties of a currently selected item from the project or hierarchy view. So in the hierarchy view, we saw basically different types of game objects. In the project view, you have things like assets such as textures, materials, models, prefabs, and scripts. So any kind of item, whether they are from the project or hierarchy view, they have certain properties or features. Okay, and you want to somehow be able to configure these properties or features and look at them in more detail, and that can be accomplished in the inspector view. Now, each game object that you have in the hierarchy view, they are actually composed of several smaller components. Okay, so you can think of each game object as some kind of a container for smaller components. The most common one is a transform component. There may be other components as well. Okay, and each of these components can be disabled or removed in the inspector view. Okay, let's have a look and see at the inspector view in Unity.